Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. You are not going to get where you want to be in life if you keep doing the same things that have been holding you back. Today, I want to talk about 5 things you have to stop doing immediately. No more excuses. If you want to change your life, you've got to make a change in the way you think and act right now. 5 of the most common complaints from people who are very successful are ones that say, I don't have time to be in the gym. I don't have time to... Listen, excuses are the enemy of progress. They're easy to come by, but they never get you where you need to go. The moment you take responsibility for your situation is the moment you start moving forward. It's not about the circumstances. It's about what you're willing to do with what you've been given. Excuses won't pay your bills, won't fulfill your dreams, and won't take you anywhere. You've got to stop pointing fingers and start looking at what you can do. Stop blaming and start acting. You cannot rise above the people you associate with. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, by people who are content with mediocrity, guess what? You're going to settle for the same. Success is contagious, but so is failure. Evaluate your circle. If they're not lifting you higher, they're holding you back. Surround yourself with those who challenge you, inspire you, and make you want to be better every single day. Who is it? It's time to break free from the toxic influences and start investing your time with people who push you to grow. You only have so many hours in a day, so stop wasting them. Stop spending your precious time on things that won't move you forward, on distractions, on things that aren't contributing to your personal growth. Time is your most valuable asset, and the clock is ticking. Spend it wisely. Start prioritizing what's important. Focus on your goals, on self-improvement, and on creating the life you desire. Now, some of you are living with a mindset that is too small for your potential. You think limited. You settle for less. Stop underestimating yourself. You were not born to live a life of average. You are capable of greatness, but you've got to believe it. Think big. Dream big. Start taking actions that reflect your highest ambitions. Stop playing small. It's time to think and act like the person you're destined to be. End on that note. Excellence is all you have. Let me tell you something. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's a part of it. You can't succeed without failing. But here's the catch. If you're too afraid to fail, you'll never take the necessary risks. You've got to embrace failure, learn from it, and move forward. The people who achieve the most in life are the ones who are willing to try, stumble, and get back up again. Stop letting fear control you. Control fear. You're controlling it with fear. Step out of your comfort zone and embrace the lessons that come with every setback. Let me tell you something. Excuses are a silent killer. They're the little lies we tell ourselves to make us feel better when we don't do what we're supposed to do. And what's worse, we get comfortable with them. We begin to believe them. I don't have enough time. I wasn't born with the right skills. The circumstances aren't right. I've heard them all. But here's the truth. You're the only one standing in your own way. We all have 24 hours in a day. Every single one of us. The difference between where you are now and where you want to be is not about time or circumstances. It's about how you choose to use what you've got. If you want to be successful, you can't afford to let excuses rule your life. You've got to make the decision to stop making them, to stop letting them control your actions. Success doesn't come to those who wait for the perfect moment. It comes to those who take responsibility for their actions and make the most out of what they have, no matter what. You've got to realize that nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's going to hand you success on a silver platter. If you want something, you've got to earn it. But that begins with getting rid of the excuses, because they will keep you stagnant, stuck in the same place, year after year. It's easy to blame everything else, your job, your family, your past. But when you start pointing the finger outward, you're giving up your power. You're telling yourself that the things around you have control over your destiny. That's not true. The only thing that has control over your future is what you choose to do today. And if you let excuses keep creeping in, you'll never step into your potential. It's time to own your story. Stop waiting for the perfect set of circumstances or the ideal opportunity to show up. You don't need it. The only thing you need is the willingness to stop making excuses and take full responsibility for your life. If you're not where you want to be, it's not because of the economy, your background, or your luck. It's because you've been making excuses instead of making progress. Every time you say, I can't, you give away a little bit of your power. Every time you say, it's not my fault, you lose a little more control. Stop giving away your power. Take control. No more excuses. It's time to get serious about where you want to go. And it starts with making the decision to stop making excuses today. You owe it to yourself to stop the blame game, to stop playing small, and to start acting like the person who can get things done. Let me tell you something. The people you surround yourself with have an immense impact on your life. They shape your mindset, they shape your behavior, and they even shape your future. The truth is, you can't rise above the level of the people you spend the most time with. If you're always surrounded by those who are content with mediocrity, guess what? That will eventually become your comfort zone too. Think about it. Every day, you're being influenced by the people around you. If they're negative, if they have a victim mentality, or if they're stuck in the same place they've always been, they're going to pull you down with them. It doesn't matter how ambitious or driven you are. If you spend all your time around people who aren't going anywhere, your progress will slow down. It's just the law of association. Doesn't matter if you are carrying around people that are driving you forward in your goals or lagging behind. But here's the flip side. When you surround yourself with people who are ambitious, who are focused, and who have a mindset of growth and success, that energy is contagious. You'll find yourself doing more, thinking bigger, and pushing yourself beyond your limits. But if you're always hanging out with the wrong crowd, you're going to adopt their mindset, their habits, and their excuses. You'll start thinking like they think, and before you know it, you're stuck in the same rut. Now, I'm not telling you to cut everyone out of your life, but you need to be intentional about who you allow to influence you. Ask yourself, are the people around you lifting you up or bringing you down? Are they encouraging you to dream bigger, or are they telling you that it's too hard? Do they challenge you to be better, or do they comfort you in your laziness? Look, one of the hardest things you'll ever do is distance yourself from the wrong people. It's hard because sometimes they're family or lifelong friends. But remember, your goals, your vision, and your future are too important to let anyone hold you back. If they can't grow with you, they will drag you down, whether they mean to or not. It's not about being cold, it's about being wise. You have to be willing to say no to the people who drain your energy, who don't support your ambitions, or who feed you with negativity. And yes, that means you may have to say goodbye to some people. But here's the thing. You're not going to get where you want to go with people who are always holding you back. If you truly want to change your life, you need to be willing to surround yourself with individuals who challenge you, who push you to think bigger, who hold you accountable for your actions. You must be able to reach back and grab another human being to encourage and inspire them. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So, if you want to rise above the crowd, you've got to start surrounding yourself with people who are already where you want to be, or at least people who are on the same journey of growth and improvement. If you want to reach new heights, you need a new circle. And sometimes that means letting go of people who no longer fit in the picture of where you're headed. When you change the people you associate with, you'll change your life. You'll find yourself thinking bigger, doing more, and ultimately achieving things you never thought possible. Choose wisely. Your future depends on it. Let's talk about time. Time is the one resource you can never get back. It's the most valuable thing you have, and yet so many people squander it on things that don't matter. We waste time on distractions, on things that give us short-term pleasure, but don't contribute to our long-term success. And here's the thing. Every moment you waste on something insignificant is a moment you'll never get back. Every week, try to value the truth and the words that are no longer satisfying and the route to better relationships. If you want to change your life, the first thing you've got to do is evaluate how you're spending your time. Look at your daily routine. What are you doing with the hours you're given? Are you spending them on activities that move you closer to your goals, or are you just filling time with things that don't help you grow? The answer might surprise you. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. The most successful people don't have more time than you. They just use theirs better. They don't get caught up in activities that drain their energy or distract them from what's important. They prioritize what matters most. But so many people waste their time on things that don't move the needle forward. Whether it's watching endless TV, scrolling through social media, or hanging around in places where they don't belong. Time is a limited resource. You've heard that before, but have you really taken it to heart? Think about this. When was the last time you truly looked at how you're spending your day and asked yourself, is this moving me toward my goals? If you're not investing your time in activities that improve you, that push you toward success, then you're essentially giving it away for free. and that's a choice. Ask yourself, how much time are you wasting on things that are of no real value? It might be indulging in gossip, arguing with people who don't matter, or wasting hours on entertainment that doesn't add to your life. Every minute you spend on these things is a minute you could have used to invest in yourself, to work on your skills, or to move closer to the person you want to be. Start being intentional with your time. Make a plan every day and stick to it. Don't let distractions control you. If you want to be successful, you've got to understand that time is your most precious resource, and you have to treat it that way. Don't let the small stuff eat up your hours. Stop letting other people's emergencies dictate how you spend your day. Focus on what truly matters. Your goals, your health, your growth, your relationships with the people who matter, and your future. You know, we spend so much of our lives in a rush. We feel like we don't have enough time, but in reality, we're just not using our time wisely. Take a moment to really think about how you're investing your days. If it's not moving you toward where you want to be, it's time to let it go. It's time to stop wasting time on things that don't matter. Make a decision today that you won't waste any more time. Time is the one thing you can't buy back. And when it's gone, it's gone. So stop filling your hours with trivial things. Start focusing on what's going to build the life you want. You'll be amazed at what happens when you stop wasting time on things that don't serve you and start putting your energy into what truly matters. Here's the truth. If you keep thinking small, you will live small. That's the way it works. The size of your thoughts determines the size of your actions. And the size of your actions determines the size of your results. You've got to stop playing small. You've got to stop limiting yourself to what feels safe and comfortable. If you want to create something extraordinary in your life, you've got to think beyond what you think is possible right now. We often hold ourselves back because we're afraid of failure. We're afraid of taking a step outside the comfort zone. We think, I'll never be able to do that, or that's for other people, not for me. But the reality is, the only thing that's holding you back is your own small thinking. It's not your circumstances, your background, or your situation. It's the belief that you can't achieve more. But what if you could? What if everything you've been limiting yourself from is actually within your reach? If only you would expand your mindset and not to limit yourself. Let's begin by assessing what we really believe we can accomplish and make a list of the things that really matter. Then assess your mindset. Stop thinking that you can only achieve what seems realistic to you right now. You've got to start thinking in terms of what you could achieve, even if it doesn't make sense at first. Your potential is far greater than what you've allowed yourself to believe. The bigger your vision, the bigger your life becomes. But if you keep thinking small, you'll keep getting small results. And small results lead to frustration and mediocrity, which will only make you settle even more. Here's what's really going on. People think small because they don't want to face the discomfort of growth. Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It doesn't happen when you're playing it safe. If you want to break through to something greater, you have to push past the limits of your thinking. You have to be willing to embrace the discomfort, to challenge yourself, and to stretch your vision until it feels impossible to you. That's when you know you're on the right track. Start asking yourself bigger questions. Stop asking, how can I get by? And start asking, how can I achieve the best version of my life? Stop looking at what's right in front of you and start looking at what's possible beyond that. You may be surprised at how quickly the universe starts to align with your new way of thinking. Opportunities that you never saw before will suddenly appear. Ideas that never occurred to you will come flooding in, but only if you're thinking big enough to notice them. This is about changing your identity. It's about becoming the person who thinks big and acts big. You can't expect to achieve extraordinary results if you're still stuck in the mindset of someone who's only aiming for ordinary. You have to raise the bar for yourself. Set bigger goals, aim higher. It's not enough to just want a little more than what you have right now. You have to want everything that's available to you, the full measure of success, happiness, and fulfillment that is rightfully yours. Here's the kicker. Most people don't fail because they try and fail. Most people fail because they don't try enough. They don't take enough risks. They don't put enough effort into reaching for something bigger. They get comfortable with small goals, small achievements, and small thinking. But you weren't born for smallness. You weren't put on this earth to live an average life. It's time to stop thinking small. It's time to give up the notion that you can't have more, do more, and be more. You have the potential for greatness within you, but you'll never see it until you break through your own self-imposed limits. Dream bigger, set bigger goals, take bigger actions. Your future is not limited to your current circumstances. It's limited only by how big you're willing to think. So what are you waiting for? Stop thinking small. Stop playing it safe. Your dreams are bigger than you think. You've got everything you need to make them happen. But you've got to start thinking like the person who's already living that dream. You've got to start thinking as if nothing is impossible. That's when the magic starts to happen. Let me tell you something about thinking small. It's the silent killer of dreams. So many people live their entire lives on the sidelines because they're stuck in a small mindset. They convince themselves that they don't deserve more, that they're not capable of more, and that their circumstances define what they can or can't achieve. And the worst part is, they never even try to break free from that tiny little box they've created for themselves. I know you, and you know yourself, that in the back of your mind, you believe there is no such thing as too much. If you want more out of life, you've got to stop thinking small. Now, I'm not talking about being content with modest goals or ambitions. I'm talking about the mindset that keeps you playing it safe, keeps you comfortable with the status quo, and convinces you that you can only reach as high as your immediate environment or current resources. This kind of thinking is what keeps people stuck in jobs they don't love, relationships that drain them, and lives that don't inspire them. It's a trap, and the door is locked from the inside. Never plug yourself and the expectations of others as your guide. Focus on making progress, not comparing yourself. The truth is, most of us have been conditioned to think small. We've been told from a young age that there are limits to what we can do, that our background, our education, or our circumstances will define the extent of our success. But that's a lie. The truth is, you can achieve whatever you set your mind to, but it starts with changing the way you think, making progress, and being able to enjoy the journey along the small way. Progress and individuality. Think about it. Everything around you, every success story, every breakthrough, every moment of achievement started with someone thinking bigger than what was immediately possible. It all started with someone believing that there was more to life than what they could see right in front of them. But that's where the difference lies. Those who succeed are the ones who refuse to accept the limitations others place on them. Here's my question for you. They see opportunities where others see obstacles. They envision their future in bold strokes, not tiny, safe steps. And then finally, repetitive experience and hard work pay off day after day, so the recipient becomes bold and repetitive. It's time to stop playing small, and here's why. Small thinking is self-limiting. When you think small, you operate within a framework of what's possible based on what you've already achieved or seen. But here's the catch. Your current reality is not a reflection of what you're capable of. It's a reflection of your past decisions and your current mindset. If you want to break free from your circumstances, you have to start thinking beyond them. You can't continue thinking like the person you've been and expect to become someone new. You have to start thinking like the person you want to become. Let me ask you this. What are you really capable of? Most people will only aim as high as their fear or self-doubt will allow them. They'll set goals that feel safe, comfortable, and achievable. But what if you could go further? What if you could think bigger? What if you stop setting goals that just push you a little beyond your comfort zone and instead set goals that force you to grow beyond your wildest imagination? You see, when you start thinking big, you don't just stretch your limits, you break through them entirely. And that's when true transformation happens. The hardest part about thinking big is getting rid of the fear of failure, because that's really what holds people back from reaching their full potential. Fear of failure keeps you stuck in that small thinking loop. You think, if I set this big goal and fail, I'll look foolish, I'll be exposed. But that's the wrong way to look at it. Failure is simply a step towards success. Every time you fail, you learn. Every setback brings you one step closer to the breakthrough you need. The only real failure is not trying at all. Now, I want you to ask yourself, what would your life look like if you truly stopped thinking small? What would you go after if you knew you couldn't fail? What if you stopped settling for what was easy and started aiming for what was extraordinary? How much further could you go? And who would you become along the way? Think about the people you admire. Think about the ones who have created the kind of life you want for yourself. The only difference between them and you is how they think. They've conditioned themselves to think bigger, to push themselves harder, to go after things that others might say are impossible. They've decided that the only limits that exist are the ones they place on themselves. The reality is that thinking small is the biggest obstacle standing between you and everything you want. It keeps you trapped in a cycle of mediocrity, where you're always just getting by but never truly thriving. But when you make the decision to stop thinking small, you step into a world of endless possibilities. You step into a life where you're constantly growing, constantly learning, and constantly moving toward a future that excites you. Stop settling for good enough. Stop thinking that the life you have right now is the best you can do. You were meant for more. You are capable of so much more than you've allowed yourself to believe. So today, make the decision to start thinking bigger. Set goals that challenge you. Take risks that make you uncomfortable. Dream in a way that forces you to stretch your potential. And remember, it all starts with changing the way you think. Because when you think big, you live big. And when you live big, there are no limits to what you can achieve. Let me tell you something about failure. We all fear it at some point, but here's the truth. Failure isn't the enemy. In fact, failure is one of the most valuable tools in your journey to success. The problem isn't failure itself. The problem is the fear of it. We've been conditioned to view failure as something to avoid at all costs, as something that defines us. But if you want to get to where you want to go in life, you've got to stop being afraid to fail. But for people like us, there is a second failure. When we accept and fail and learn from it, it creates the capacity to create a legacy life. You see, every successful person, every high achiever, every person who has made a lasting impact on the world has failed. They've fallen short, they've made mistakes, they've stumbled along the way. The difference is they didn't let those failures stop them. They didn't let fear hold them back. Instead, they used failure as fuel. They understood that failure is a natural part of the process, a necessary ingredient for growth. Failure teaches you things that success simply can't. Success might feel good in the moment, but it's failure that provides the lessons. Failure forces you to reflect, to evaluate, and to improve. It teaches you about your strengths and your weaknesses. It teaches you resilience, perseverance, and grit. The only way to avoid failure is to avoid trying. And if you avoid trying, you guarantee that you'll never reach your potential. The fear of failure is what keeps most people stuck. It's the reason why they don't take risks. It's the reason why they don't go after their big dreams. They're afraid of looking foolish, afraid of being judged, afraid of not measuring up. But here's the reality. No one achieves greatness by playing it safe. No one breaks through to the next level by staying inside their comfort zone. The fear of failure keeps you small, keeps you trapped, and keeps you from the incredible possibilities that lie on the other side of your fears. You've got to understand this. Failure is not the end. It's simply feedback. It's a redirection. It's not a sign that you're not good enough. It's a sign that you're pushing yourself, that you're stretching, that you're doing things you've never done before. When you embrace failure as a part of the process, it loses its power to hold you back. It becomes just another stepping stone on the way to success. Ever fundamental attitude. There is no winning in life except by personal achievement. But most people, too many people, never give themselves the opportunity to experience that growth. They never take the first step because they're too afraid of what might happen if they fall short. They let the fear of failure paralyze them, and as a result, they live their lives in a state of mediocrity, never reaching for the greatness that lies just beyond their comfort zone. Here's the thing. Every time you fail, you're getting closer to success. Each failure is one less mistake you have to make. It's one more lesson that moves you forward. Every time you stumble, you get up a little wiser, a little stronger, and a little more prepared for the next challenge. The real failure isn't in falling down. It's in not getting back up. The real failure is in letting the fear of failure stop you from ever trying in the first place. It's time to stop seeing failure as something to be feared and start seeing it as a friend. It's time to stop avoiding it and start embracing it. It's time to stop letting it define you and start using it to fuel you. Because the truth is, failure is not an obstacle. It's a stepping stone. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you'll be able to move past the fear and take bold action. Think about it. When was the last time you tried something new, something challenging, and didn't worry about the outcome? When was the last time you gave yourself permission to fail and saw it as an opportunity to learn rather than a reason to quit?